Hello, friends. I'm so happy you're here. Today, we're going to talk about the full moon in Capricorn that's coming up on July 10th. And this is a big, powerful full moon, as they always are. They help illuminate things that we maybe haven't been looking at, but would really be good for us to look at. They also help us to realize that we're at a crescendo of energy. It's like the highest point of the moon when it's full, and then it'll start to wax. And so there is this kind of culmination feeling, or this kind of getting to a triumph moment, even for yourself. I know that this Capricorn full moon is right on top of my natal moon. So this is going to be an extra powerful new moon for me, but most of this will be the human design of our full moon in Capricorn coming up on the 10th. And if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, leave a comment. I always love to hear from you, and we'll go ahead and dive in. So the chart of this full moon is showing us a continuing theme that is going on during the month of July. Now, I did do a full transit report for the month of July, and if you haven't seen that yet, you might want to go check it out, because I go into this in a little bit more depth. But here, let's talk about what's happening with these particular gates, and then we'll unpack it a little bit more. So this full moon is going to be in the same gate as the Earth. They're always together at a full moon, and they're in the gate 54. So the gate 54 is known as drive or ambition or divine inspiration. So it is a really kind of strong, let's get things going kind of an energy. It's on that route, which is one of the motors. We're going to talk more about that in a second. But it also has been reformulated in quantum human design as divine inspiration. Now, like I said, this is actually my moon, my Capricorn moon, in my human design chart and my astrology chart. And so for me, I have really looked at how does this play out in my life. So the moon in human design is what drives you. And when the moon is in the 54, you're being driven by the moon in your drive and your ambition. And so I, in my life, have experienced this as a pretty strong driving energy. But as I've matured, and I think as human design has matured, we take a look at this and go, okay, really, is that a drive, like an adrenaline drive? Because the root is connected to the adrenal glands. And so there can be this sense of driving. But if we can transition from this kind of, I need to do it, it's up to me. It's like, I'm going to drive, I'm going to make shit happen, that kind of thing, right? Which is something I've lived in for a lot of my life, also because I have an Aries sun, right? So I've had to really learn how to work with that. But if we transmute it into really being able to receive divine inspiration that is then guiding us, rather than feeling like we need to have an adrenal push to make things happen. I think this is a really important shift for us to be making. But you might be feeling, when this full moon is happening, like you've got that adrenaline energy going. So see if that is happening for you, and if you can transmute it through some kind of breath practice or movement practice or even creative practice, something that just helps you to move some energy, use up some of that driving adrenal energy that you might have, so that you can then drop into a deeper state and see if you can access more of the divine inspiration rather than that really driving adrenal energy. I just want to show you the mandala of the full moon here. This is great for those of you who are more human design aficionados or professionals who might want to see something like this. You can see right up at the top of the chart, Capricorn. And right there, you're going to see the Earth and the moon together right up at the top of the chart, a little bit on the left-hand side. And then down at the bottom, you're going to see the Sun, which is in the gate 53, which is in Cancer. And so when we're looking at the Earth and the Sun, they're always opposite each other on the mandala. And then the moon joins either the earth or the sun, depending on if it's a full moon or a new moon. So at a new moon, the sun and the moon are together, and at a full moon, the earth and the moon are together. So that's kind of how these things work. But it's fun to kind of see it here on the mandala. And when you're looking at the other things on the mandala, just know that for transits, we don't look at the red numbers or the red symbols. We only look at the black ones because those are the snapshot of this moment in time. And a moon is not a human being, so they're not gestating the same way, which is what those red numbers have to do about. Okay, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. So we've got the moon and the earth together. They're in that gate 54. And then right next to it on the root center, we've got the sun in the 53. So in order for us to really shine out that light of the 53, right, which is then going to shine on the moon, right, because that's what happens at a full moon, we also have to have that 54 really in place. So the 54, again, if we want to try to move through the kind of adrenal high that you can get with the 54 into a place where we're more receptive to divine inspiration, that this is then going to give a foundation for the gate of starting things, right? Which is the 53. So this is what the sun is. So think about this for a second. If what we're resting on with the earth is really adrenal filled, what are we going to start with things, right? We're going to enter into something with that really powerful kind of driving energy. Now, we're trying to evolve out of this, right? Because this is part of our consumer culture of like drive, 24/7, 365 society that electricity and the internet has given us. But we're trying to evolve out of this so that we can be kinder to our nervous systems, for one thing, but also so that we can be more in alignment with the living world and not be so kind of crazed humans trying to just make shit happen all the time. Right? So if we can be more in that state of divine inspiration, in this case, it's like on the root, right? So we can be receiving that from the earth, because of the earth, of course, is a very large divine celestial being that is continually sending us energy, is continually blessing us with her point of view. And so we want to be able to be in that state of divine inspiration when we start things. Because if we start it with adrenaline, right? One of the things that human design really shows us is that how we enter into things is critical. This is the thing about your strategy, right? Your strategy, according to type, is how you enter into things. It's how you start things. And so we want to also look at that here with when the 53 is lit up. It's how are we starting things? So my suggestion for you is to make sure that during this full moon that you are starting things from this deep state of inspiration that you can feel more when you're in your body and not so much in your mind. That driving is something that our left brain dominance tends to really fuel in us, right? And because that left brain dominance also a lot of times has fear that is distorting it. And so that makes us even run even faster. And if we're in like a survival strategy, like I need to keep running, I need to keep making things, I need to keep making things happen in order to be okay, in order to survive, in order to provide for my family, and like all that stuff, right? That makes me anxious just to even demonstrate that for you. So we want to be able to not be doing that, right? But watch out if you tend to go that way, or if you see that other people are going that way. And let's just remember what happens at the full moon isn't just this one moment in time. It really impacts us for the next few months. So you want to think about how are you now entering into this new into this time, right? We are at the crescendo because full moons are crescendo in the lunar cycle, right? But we are entering into something new. And so you might be wanting to think about, well, what are you starting? What do you want to enter into? And what is the quality of the energy that you're going to do that with? So let's talk about the root center for a second, because both of these gates where the sun and the earth are on the root center. So the root center, obviously, it's at the bottom, the very bottom of of the spine, right? It is known like as the root chakra. They're related. They're not the same, but they're related. It's where the perineum is, the tailbone is, the very base of the spine. And it's where we relate to the earth is through that root. And so we want to be really grounding ourselves in this root energy. And what does that mean to ground ourselves? Right? We want to be able to really have a sense of stability and ballast, like there's something we can count on that we're connecting to, right? That this soma is relating to the soma of the earth, because after all, we are made from the earth. We are sacks of water full of minerals animated by spirit. And so we are very related to the earth, but for very many of us, we feel disconnected. We're not actually disconnected, but we feel disconnected, and we don't have that kind of nourishing relationship that we can have with the earth. We want to have a good relationship with our root center because it is our interface with the earth. Now, if you have an open root center, you're going to feel more pressure. You're going to feel pressure because the head's a pressure center and the root is a pressure center. So you could be feeling pressure coming up underneath you, kind of wanting to make you drive to do things. And so you got to watch out for that piece, right? If you have a defined root, you'll feel this a little bit differently because you already have a certain quality of energy with your root. You already have a channel that comes to it that gives it a certain kind of energy. But with the 53 or the 54 here, if you have that open root, look for the mates and see if then you're going to get your root defined as a result of that, because you might, like I said, we have a few different gates that are lit up on that root center during this transit. And so the root center, like I said, it's really the place where we're grounding. In human design, it's considered like a timing center, okay? It's like, how do we know if it's the right time for things? Because the root has a pulse, right? It's related to the pulse of the magnetic force of the earth. So the root has a pulse. And so when there's power that comes through it, right, that's a time to engage. It's a time to do things. And when there isn't a pulse coming from that root, it's not so much a time. And so you want to make sure that you don't override when there isn't energy coming through that root, that you override it with adrenaline, right? Which is one of the things that we get taught to do a lot. And like I said, adrenaline is available in the root center because it's associated with the adrenals, okay, that's on top of the kidneys. But you don't really want to be living out of adrenaline. This is one of the things that is really exhausting us and burning us out in culture now, is that when we really live based on adrenaline, which is generally speaking based in some kind of survival story, some survival mechanism. And it's almost like we're at a low level constantly running away from some kind of danger. Right. And we're kind of running towards some promised future of safety, but we never get there. Like we never get there. The only way to get to a sense of safety is by going inside, because safety is an inside job. So take a look at this for yourself, because it might kind of light something up for you that you're like, oh, I never really thought about it in that way. And this is a really good time to go and sit on the earth, have your back against a tree if you can, so that you're really receiving the blessing of this ancestor, right? Holding you inside of its auric field, right? Because trees have a huge auric field. And then really feeling that earth. And that is a great way for you to start to feel a little bit more energy there, particularly if you have an open root center. Then I also want to call your attention to a defined channel that we have during this particular transit, and also for a few days on either side. So this is right-brained energy, right? 6447 energy comes in through that 64 in the right brain and travels down into the 47 into the ajna. So this is the beginning of the sensing circuit. The sensing circuit is, like I said, it comes from right-brained energy, and it crosses over in the ajna, comes down the left-hand side of the body and up through the central channel. Okay, so that's how it goes. And it's creative, it's experiential, it's embodied, it's expansive. So it's not logical, it's not rational, it's not strategic, it's not linear, it's none of those things, right? So we want to be open to be receiving what the energy is that's coming in through that particular sensing circuit. And also to note that the 53, which is where the earth is also in the sensing circuit. So the 54 is in the tribal circuit, which is where the earth and the moon are. And then that sun is in the sensing circuit. So we've got a couple of different circuits going on here. And they can be compatible, but that sensing circuit is going to be inviting that 54, like I said, which is kind of like adrenaline filled, right? It's going to be inviting it to kind of drop down more into the body, to be more experiential, and to not be so in this drive of survival, but instead to move into more of a creative energy and also more receptivity. So that's going to really help with you being able to open up to that divine inspiration that can come through that 54 instead of that adrenaline filled ambition that it can fall into. So one of the things I encourage you to do is take a snapshot of what is going on in this transit, and then take a look at your own human design chart and see where you're going to get some extra definition as a result of this. Now, this 4764 is going to bring a definition to most of us, because most of us have an open head and most of us have an open ajna. So getting a defined head and ajna is one place where all of us are going to have definition. Some people already have it, but most of us do not. So this is going to give us that ability to be receiving the downloads that are coming through there, but it can also kind of lock us in our head a little bit. So you want to watch out for that for yourself. Then in addition to that, take a look at where else the definition is coming up. Like I know, for example, Uranus just moved into the gate 20, moved out of the gate 8 where it's been a long time. Now it's on the gate 20. So the gate 20 is here on the throat. Well, I have the rest of the integration circuit here, but I don't have the 20. So now that Uranus is in that 20, I have all this energy going up into my throat. I actually have manifesting generator energy going up into my throat that I don't usually have. Or over here on this side, the nodes, the north node has moved into the gate 22. I have the gate 12 that's already defined in my chart. Those are going to create a channel. So for me, I'm going to get a whole bunch of extra definition, right? I'm going to get a motorized throat. I'm going to get my emotional solar plexus defined. So take a look what's true for you, because this is one of the great ways you can work with the transits to see what is specific for you. And if you're not really sure what I'm talking about, I do have a free video training that will help walk you through that and help you understand how the transits work and what to put together. And I'll put the link for that down below so you can download that for yourself. Think about what other extra definition is going to come to you, but then take a look at some of the other things. So for example, as you probably know, we have Saturn and Neptune are in the gate 25, which is at the very beginning of Aries. Neptune just went retrograde. Saturn's going to go retrograde. So we're in a retrograde cycle with them, but they're going to be in the 25 for a little bit longer, which is the love of spirit. So if you're aiming to move from kind of adrenaline filled, like make stuff happen, into divine inspiration, tuning into your gate 25, which is on the G center and is the love of spirit, can really help you to do that. So you can take a look at other things that are going on in the chart at the same time and see how they can be allies for you. And one other place that all of us can look to is to that gate 22, which I mentioned a moment ago because I have a hanging gate that meets it. It's coming off the emotional solar plexus, and it's known as the gate of surrender. Surrender, right? It takes faith to be able to surrender. And so as we are aiming to shift our energy from being in too much overdrive, which can really get stimulated to when things are loud in the outer world, right? As they are right now, to really kind of stimulate our anxiety and so on, is to move into that north node of surrender. And remember that the north node is like our in this case, collective destiny. And so our destiny is to move into more surrender. So we've got a theme going on here, right? We've got the gate of the love of spirit that is being lit up by Neptune and Saturn. We've got the North Node that's in the gate 22, which is the gate of surrender. We've got that gate 54 that's lit up, and it's kind of like, how are you going to embody and express that? Are you going to let it give you a lot of extra adrenaline, or are you going to be, I am going to ground myself, I'm going to come into my heart, I'm going to be willing to receive the divine inspiration that is coming my way. I'm going to be able to use that gate 25 to help me to do that. Right? So there's ways that you can work with these different activations that really help you to have more command over this experience and to help you in your own personal growth. And I just want to close today's video by saying that, I know things are kind of confusing in the world right now. It's hard to know what to believe. It's hard to know what's really going on. There's so many different points of view, so many different polarized and conflictual points of information that are being delivered to us. And I know that can really be unsettling. And we've got violence going on the world stage in a really distressing way. I mean, obviously it's been going on for a few years, but the amplitude has gone up in it as well. And you may be feeling certain things in your community. I know a lot of people are feeling that right now. So what I just want to say to you is that I really do feel like this is all going to work out. It's going to take a little while. Okay, we're in the throes of some pretty deep detox. This is the way I kind of hold it, is we're in a deep detox, coming out of the old order, coming out of this hierarchical power over, paradigm that is doing its best to hold on right now. And we are really being called to surrender. Right? We're being called to come into that divine inspiration rather than the anxiety of trying to make things happen and controlling things. To be able to come more into our hearts with that love of spirit and to be tuning in to the guidance and the inspiration and the news, if you will, that's coming in from inside. And I think this is the most important antidote that we can have to whatever is going on outside of us that is distressing for us. And some of the most important work that we can do at this time is to be looking at what's going on in our inner landscape. Because if we are divided against ourselves, if we have parts of ourselves that are in conflict with each other, right, then we can be really activated by conflict that's going on outside of us. Every human design chart contains what could become conflict, or it could be creative tension. My teacher likes to call it conundrums. I like to call it creative tension. Things that sort of don't seem compatible with each other. How do we get them to dance with each other? And you may have parts of yourself that are like that as well. You might have some parts of you that just want things to stay the same and are trying to hold on or doing their very best to, batten down the hatches, right? And there's other parts of you that are excited about the future. You can see things are really evolving. You might start feeling this kind of upliftment because you're being activated by the sun and you have a deep sense of purpose that is welling up inside of you. And then there's another part of you that's like, oh no, the unknown is really scary, So just know that as you work with the different aspects of yourself, and you aim to have them dance with each other and recognize that they all have something important to bring. Of course, you want the part of you that's really afraid to heal if you can, right? To look at the trauma imprints, to look at the ways that you are living out of survival, like I've been saying, right? Which we've all been kind of trained to do that. So it's not about you. It's about how we've been trained. And to look at that and say, how can I move out of survival? Right? How can I do that? How can I move more into my heart? How can I trust a little bit more? And I know that can be really hard when there's so much that is trying to pull you in other directions. And yet this is the trajectory of our spiritual growth and our personal growth. And that as each one of us does that, we also help open the way for other people. So never doubt that the work that you do with your own personal growth and your spiritual growth is somehow narcissistic or too self-absorbed. if you believe, or if you're willing to entertain the possibility that we live in a holographic universe where the whole contains the part and the part contains the whole, that whatever you're doing to be healing and growing and evolving inside of your own being is also affecting the whole. And it's creating an opportunity, a pathway, or an energetic template, if you will, for others to follow. For other people who might still be caught more in their survival, if they have things that are happening closer around them that are really distressing, right? To be able to have an energetic pathway that people can actually step into, even though things in their immediate environment might be really challenging. So this is one of the things that those of us who have lives that are maybe more safe right now, I know I feel extraordinarily privileged and blessed that I live in a place where I feel safe right now, right? And so because of that, I do extra spiritual work because I feel like I'm doing it not just for me, I'm doing it for whoever can benefit it as well. So I want to just encourage you that if this is where you're drawn, to really dive in, really use the tools that you have, elevate your frequency, help to heal the parts of you that have still been in trauma patterns. I feel like I've had all kinds of things from other lives that have been coming up for healing, and that this is a part of what is helping us to accelerate on our evolutionary path. So I just wanted to really encourage you to take the time, use the transits, right? Use whatever tools you have, use whatever energy tools you have to help you to have an empowering and inspiring attitude, right? And to look for where, when you fall down into that survival, and to be like, okay, I'm gonna pull myself back up. I'm gonna come into an upward spiral, and to know that even though, yes, there's a lot of things that are crazy and distressing that are going on in the outer world, there are just as many, if not more, things that are inspiring and incredible that are happening in the world right now too. It's all happening simultaneously, and the question for us is, what are you going to focus on, right? What are you going to focus on? Where are you going to put your attention? Where are you going to put your energy? And I encourage you not to give your power away to things that make you afraid, right? Don't give your power away to these forces that are trying to stimulate your fear, right? Because when your fear is stimulated, you can be more easily controlled. And people who are connected to their inner guidance are not easily controlled, because you have this sense of stability and balance and understanding and guidance from the inside, and that will lead you and direct you. And so if you want to feel more empowered in your life, this is one of the most important things that you can do. And the planets are certainly inviting us to do it. So that's always a good place to look. All right, my friends, go ahead and get that Understanding the Human Design Transits if you want some support with that. It's a free video. There's a handout that goes with it as well. And if you haven't got your own human design chart, I do have a new chart that's being offered at yourfreehumandesignchart.com, and you can get your own mandala as well. So I'm super happy about that. All right, my friends, I'll be back before too long with another video. Much love.